Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Two Footer Tackle podcast. I'm your host, Ari Stamatakos. I'm here again after a very emotional, very mentally draining day yesterday. Emotionally draining day yesterday, but we're here. We're back again. I hope everyone's well. I hope everyone's day has been fantastic. Since the last time we spoke. If you're joining me because of yesterday's episode, then thank you for sticking around. I apologize. This won't be as heartfelt. This will probably be a little bit shorter and will be a lot more analytical, or not a lot more, but it'll be a lot more neutral and won't be as emotional. Yeah. Thank you all if you did stick around. Thank you all for the support on yesterday's pod. I was, to be honest, kind of umming and ahhing about releasing it in the way that it was because of my tears around the 15-minute mark. But I thought, no, fuck it, it's raw. It's gonna go in. It should go in, and it did. And I'm very, very pleased with the support on it. It means the world to me, and I'm glad that I've got some messages that have shared my emotions or have at least expressed that they felt a similar way. So that makes me feel a little bit less like a knob. No, it was a thrilling day yesterday. Still really haven't gotten over it. Still really am in a little bit of shock. But there was some football today which really gave us something else to think about and gave us something else to talk about and really gave us an excuse, you might say, to forget about what happened. But I'm very grateful for these 8 teams to have done this to me and not made me go from the high that was yesterday's pod to a low that which could have been. But no, the manner of this World Cup means that every group in this last match day was capable of turning on its head and causing a shock result. So these two groups weren't any different, which is very good. But yes, I can't. Yeah, I'm sure. Just thank you for the support on yesterday. It means the world. It really does. And if you're joining me from that episode, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for coming around. It's gonna be a good ride for the rest of this World Cup. And heaven forbid, there's a miracle on Sunday morning, and I'm here again I'm here again in 2 days' time, and I'll cry again probably. So you mean if anyway, I'm just not gonna think about it. But yeah, you tune in on Sunday because there might be tears either way. Anyway, let's move on. But before we kick things off, I want to implore you all to subscribe to the Two Footer Tackle podcast on YouTube. Like it, notification bell, all the socials, all the audio platforms. Links in the description on YouTube. Relevant links are in the bio or in the link tree bio on both Twitter and Instagram. If not, just type in Two Footer Tackle podcast and on any social platform that should come up. But yeah, let's move on. Let's kick things off, shall we? Let's start with. Should we go in group order? No, let's start with how the games went. So of course there was 2 more groups to be decided and 2 very, very entertaining groups to say the least. And that was of course Morocco versus Canada and Croatia versus Belgium to decide Group F, and of course Japan versus Spain and Belgium versus Germany versus Costa Rica to decide Group E. Let's kick things off with Group F because of course they were the earlier kickoffs, and this was a pretty bizarre kind of situation. Now before the games kicked off, of course the equation was relatively simple. Morocco was sitting in second place. Croatia was sitting in first place with 4 points. Am I correct? Croatia was sitting in first place with 4 points. Croatia was sitting in Morocco was sitting in second place with 4 points, and Belgium was sitting in third place with 3 points. Canada were already gone. So Morocco versus Canada meant that all Morocco really needed was a point, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, all Morocco needed was a point against Canada, and they were through. Is that right? Am I right in saying that? No. Morocco needed to win on the assumption that Belgium didn't win. So if Belgium had won, Morocco needed at least a win. No, if Belgium had won, Morocco needed to win. If Belgium had lost or drawn, or Morocco needed was a point. Croatia, really, the equation was for them get a point and we're in. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, get a point and they're in because of goal difference. And the game started relatively as you would expect the games to start. I mean, let's look at Canada Morocco first. Morocco obviously had a lot more of the pill, if you're going to call it that. Towards the front end of the game, they really dominated the game, and they did score nice and early through Hakim Ziyech. It was a horrendous like miss pass, miss hit from the goalkeeper, which just fell to Ziyech, who scored from about 40 yards out. Which who scored from about 40 yards out, which was a very typical like way to start the game in terms of Canada. Like, they played so well, but they just couldn't get the job done. They just thought this was very typical of their tournament. So Ziyech puts what's the nation called, Morocco, in the lead within 4 minutes, and then of course they double the lead. Not long after this, through Yusuf Al Nesri. That's how you pronounce it. I'm overcomplicating it. Yeah, Yusuf Al Nesri, who doubled the lead just before the half hour mark. So, with all due respect to Canada, you pretty much thought that yeah, right, Morocco were gonna at least hold on to a 2-0 or 2-1 win. You didn't expect them to throw away a 2-goal lead, especially in the first half. So, despite the own goal conceded in the 40th minute, and we went into 2-1 into half time, you'd expect Morocco to kind of hold the game from there. If we take a look at the Croatia-Belgium game, this one had a little bit more kind of drama in a sense. Of course, there was a penalty awarded to Andrej Kramaric, Kramaric. I need to stop overcomplicating things. There was, of course, a penalty awarded to him in just in the quarter of the hour mark, which really put the cat amongst the pigeons there, because that would have been horrendous for Belgium if Modric had scored, if the penalty was awarded. Of course, it went back through VAR. I think they awarded offside. Was it offside or was it a push? I can't quite remember. It was 2 a.m. in the morning, and I've had about 3 sort of separate stints of sleep. So 2 a.m. in the morning feels like 6 a.m. 4 weeks ago. I've had about like 4 different stints of sleep in between. So forgive me if I miss out details here. But yeah, of course, that penalty was overruled, and the half pretty much ended in the same way that it started, back and forth, both sides not really establishing themselves in terms of like their dominance. Both sides having a couple of chances, fending off the opposition, just kind of playing cat and mouse a little bit and just trying to figure each other out. So yeah, both games ended at halftime. One game ended 0-0 and the other game ended 2-1. Now, that of course was the way that both games finished, which obviously meant that Belgium, in the knowledge, of course, I would have found out that Morocco were leading. They needed to win. They needed to get a goal, and that was pretty well known to everyone that was pretty well kind of put across to the world, that Belgium knew that they had to get a goal, because Romelu Lukaku came on after half time, and just before the hour half they brought on Thorgan Hazard for some extra legs. Jeremy Doku and Yuri Tielemans as well came on with about 20 minutes to go. So the notion around they needed to just get a goal was pretty well put across to the world, and they had chances after chances after chances, Belgium, and obviously keeping a close eye on the Morocco game, despite that really not affecting anything in the slightest, to be honest, because of the way that goal difference would have panned out. Belgium needed to win, so they pretty much needed to just discard the Morocco result out of their mind, because even if Morocco had lost, they still would have finished above Belgium on goal difference, right? Unless Belgium had won. So Belgium really just they just really need to throw the kitchen sink at it, and a man that was subbed on to throw the kitchen sink more than anyone was Romelu Lukaku, and how does that happen? I think we all know the chance I'm referring to. The ball gets put across the box for him in the 90th minute, and he goes to chest it, and completely fluffs it. It falls into the arms of the Croatian goalkeeper Livakovic, and then that kind of summed up Belgium's campaign. Really, I mean, in the other game, Morocco had a chance um, to kind of Morocco had a chance to make it 3-1. I'm pretty sure the goalkeeper came after some last ditch defending from, I think it was Alphonso Davies, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of denied that, but yeah, Morocco could have made it 3-1, but Alphonso Davies' brilliant defense and brilliant kind of, what's it called, recovery pace kind of didn't allow that to happen. But the story of this is such a shame for Morocco because, of course, by virtue of that, both games ended relatively soon after those two things occurred. Croatia draw to Belgium, Morocco beat Canada, which means Morocco finished top of this group of death, and Belgium crash out. Let's speak on two teams. Actually, I want to speak on all four teams because I feel like all four teams are relevant in this conversation. I feel like all four teams deserve to be spoken about. Let's get Canada out the way. Let's get Canada and Croatia out the way. Potentially the two less relevant teams in the grand scheme of things. Canada, I thought were very unlucky throughout the whole tournament. I thought they were very good, especially against Belgium in the first game. I thought they were excellent. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. It was just so stiff, and they've got promise. Relatively young side, especially in the forward half. For Davies, David, Eustáquio, who didn't really feature unfortunately in the game against Morocco, despite my unwavering love for him as a player. Yeah, so they've got some talent. Cyril Larin as well. 27, but he'll be 31 by the time Canada Mexico or 2026 rolls around. So he's still got some time. And then of course Tajon Buchanan. I don't think it's Buchanan. Bakunin. Still 23, still very good. So already very good and still 23 years of age. So this Canada side does have talent. This Canada side is going to be very good in 2026. It's very stiff. They couldn't even get a point. I think they definitely deserved the point. Scored some goals in open play though, which is good. Scored one goal. That was an own goal. Jesus Christ, that wasn't an own goal in open play. So take of that what you will. But no, it was a good performance from the Canada squad throughout the tournament. I thought they did well. They did themselves proud, and yeah, just a shame that things couldn't fall their way. We speak about Croatia. Croatia just so sturdy, so reliable. Not really that exciting, but they drew 2 games 0-0, one against Canada 4-1. Did what they had to do. Finished second. Really, under any other normal kind of group qualification, they probably would have finished first. But it is what it is. They did well. They advanced. They go through and they verse Japan, which we'll touch on a little bit later. It is just a standard win or a standard tournament so far for Croatia. Still a very good side, still a very dominant side, especially in possession. So calm, so composed, so just technically brilliant. You can't really speak a whole lot about them, apart from the fact that they did what they needed to do. Probably would have liked to get a little bit, maybe one more win instead of the draw, potentially against Morocco. They probably would have wanted to get those 3 points, but it's been clear to see just how good Morocco are. So we can't really blame them for that in any regard. But it is what it is for Croatia. They're going to go through. Realistically, should go through to the quarterfinals if we're being honest. But this tournament throws up curveballs. This tournament throws up surprises, and who knows what could happen in that round 16 game. But let's speak on the two teams which really made this group what it was. And should we start with the fairy tale? Let's start with the fairy tale. Let's start with the fairy tale and end with the heartbreak. Let's go on Morocco and Morocco, huh? It is something special. It's something that the World Cup brings us every 4 years. It's something that is going to be spoken about for time, and it's going to be spoken about time and time again. And this Morocco side, while it potentially isn't the story of the tournament, because of course they've got some fantastic players, of course, Hakimi, Ziyech, Mazraoui, Anguid. They've got some players playing in the top divisions. and playing very well in the top divisions as well. So while they aren't the story and like the true apologies. While they're not like the stories of the tournament, they still are a fantastic story. No one really expected them to go through, let alone top the group. So yeah, it's something special. It's something so special. Like, it's one of those things that only the World Cup can bring so many people. Only the World Cup can bring so many people, because not only is this Moroccan kind of ecstasy here, like if you want to speak about it from a Moroccan perspective, but if you want to spare a thought for the likes of who did they beat to get through? Who did they beat to get through? I can't even find out who they beat to get through into the World Cup. Who did they beat? They didn't beat anyone. It doesn't say that they beat anyone. But just I can't find it for some reason. Just spare a thought for, because of the nature of this tournament, and then especially the nature of the African qualifiers. Spare a thought for the nation who weren't there because of Morocco, and spare a thought for them, and because it affects them as well. It affects so many nations. It affects Belgium. It affects Canada, Croatia as well. But really, they're just side paths to what really should be one of the greatest days in Moroccan history. I'm not too cleared up about the history of Morocco. Apologies for not being. But I struggle to believe that a country which is so clearly football mad as that country is. Of course, we all know their history wanting to host World Cups. They're potentially one of the most unluckiest nations when it comes to wanting to host the World Cup. They obviously have had a pretty good team. They've been building towards this. Obviously, Hakimi, Ziyech, Mazraoui, three of the most prominent names. Bono in goal is fantastic. Amrabat, who's someone who's been around for quite a while. They've got a pretty good team. They've got a pretty good nucleus in that team, and they were definitely building something for this tournament, and no one really knew what it was until we saw it. We saw them draw in marvelous fashion. We saw them draw in that game against Croatia in the first kind of round, first game I should say. And we all thought, gee, that's a pretty good result. And then they came up against Belgium, and a lot of people thought, yeah, Belgium should sweep them aside here, but it was a marvelous day, a magical day in Moroccan football history, and then this kind of trumps that tenfold. I can only imagine. It's just one of those things that only the World Cup can bring, and it's. If I just want to quickly bring up their World Cup history here, because I can't quite remember what they have done at the World Cup. So yeah, they qualified in 1970 and didn't win a game. They got knocked down the group stage. They qualified in 86, where they got to round 16, and they qualified in 94, 98, where they got knocked out of the group stage. 2018, they got knocked out of the group stage. So this is the first time since 1986 they'll be going through to the round of 16. Yeah, just magical. Absolutely magical. Magical moment for that country. Yeah, one of those things, huh? One of those things where a lot of people kind of disregard the African nations, the Asian nations as well, even the CONCACAF nations to some extent, but that they're just as football mad as a lot of other people are, and they're just as. The thing is, right, when you go to. Maybe this is different. Maybe this is me looking at it from a kind of potentially only English lens. But this kind of notion is very prominent in South America, in Africa, and in Asia as well. Because their leagues aren't as kind of prominent. Because how many people in the Argentinian squad are playing for how many people in our Argentinian squad are playing in the Argentinian league? I can't think of a lot, if there's any, right? Similar with Uruguay, Brazil, even Africa. How many people in the Morocco side are playing for the Moroccan in the Moroccan league, right? So when they come back to the country, when they come back for the World Cup, it is a unifying experience that teams in Europe or countries in Europe can't relate to, because like England, and I think I heard Frank Lampard speak about it very eloquently. He was like, there's this natural, maybe it's a little bit different now, but back in the day especially, there was this natural divide between the clubs, between the nation, because you had the 5 or 6 Chelsea players who would sit together. You had the 3 or 4 Liverpool players, the 5 or 6 United players, the 4 or 5 Man City players, the 4 or 5 Arsenal players. They'd all just sit together in their own little cliques. Whereas these Moroccan players and these Argentinian players and these Australian players, they're dispersed all around the world. And when they come back, it is, forget your club. Your club's not important right now. It's the country. It's us. It's Australia. It's Morocco. It's Japan. It's Argentina. It's Colombia. It's Uruguay. It's Nigeria. It's Algeria. It is the country. Do you know what I mean? So I guess you have to. Yeah, that obviously has something to do with it. In terms of in that regard, but I think that segues nicely into the team that kind of puts not a damper on the group, but kind of is the high of Morocco and then the lull of Belgium. Now, obviously, Roberto Martinez has left his post. He has officially announced his resignation from the Belgium head coach role. I think he shouldn't have been offered a new contract. I don't know which contract situation he's like, but if he didn't resign, he should have been sacked, because you can't excuse that. You cannot excuse that performance with this team. And this Belgium side, of course, this golden generation for Belgium. Let's not forget just how talented this generation is. You have De Bruyne, Hazard, Mertens, Vertonghen, Lukaku, Alderweireld, Company, Tielemans. Like, these are players from different eras, but have come together. Like, this is Courtois in goal. Like, this is an unbelievable generation, which started pretty much in what was the performance in the 2012 Euros? I think that's a pretty good indication. Let's look at their performance. So they didn't qualify in 2012. Obviously, 2014 was the tournament where they made their splash, right? 2014 was the tournament which kind of announced themselves on the world stage, because that was when really their golden generation was coming to a fore. Obviously, Company was playing a big role for Manchester City. Hazard was starting to come into his own. Alderweireld and Vertonghen was starting to come into their own. Lukaku was as well. So, 2014 was really the tournament for them. They finished in the quarterfinals, right? So, in 2014, they get to the quarterfinals. Apologies. Still a bit under the weather. In 2014, they get to the quarterfinals. In 2016, they get to the quarterfinals. 2018, they get to the round. They get to the third place playoff game. They get to the semis. 2020, they get to the quarterfinals, and 2022, they get knocked out in the group stage. It's one of those things where this. It's very harsh to say that this golden generation is overrated, because the players that have been in this golden generation and the players on the pitch have been extraordinary. De Bruyne, Hazard, Alderweireld, Lukaku, Tielemans, Hazard again, Company, Vertonghen, Lukaku, Mertens. These players are unbelievable, right? It's just been the regime that has been dictating them, and the managers that they've had, and the regime that has been around this squad has not been good enough. They have wasted potentially one of the most talented national teams that we've seen in the modern era. And it's such a shame, because this team at its best is so exciting, so scintillating, so intrinsic in the way that they play. We saw in 2018 just how good they were on the counter-attack, playing quick, expansive football. It was marvellous. It was absolutely marvellous to watch. You could probably hear that. Some lawnmower going off literally just outside of this wall, which is great. I don't know if that's going to stop anytime soon. I would like to think it would. I would like to think it does, but... Is it going to stop? It's stopping. It's not stopping, but we'll just have to fight through it. Yeah, it was marvellous to watch. And for them to go out on a whimper in their final tournament together, when really in 2026 or even 2024, this side isn't going to be the same. It's going to be old, it's going to be aging, It's going to be like it's going to be a skeleton of what it once was. For them to go out in such a manner is so disappointing, such a shame, and it's going to go down as one of the most wasted golden generations ever. Potentially, maybe England takes that reign, but yeah, it's going to go down as one of the most wasted golden generations ever. Such a shame. But it is what it is. It is what it is, and you can't really It is what it is. Like, you can't really kind of put anything you can't really put anything to it, and you just have to kind of look back at what it was and what it. What's that quote? That Dr. Seuss quote? You can't don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. Smile because it happened, and smile because so many people were just so infatuated by this Belgian team, and they gave us a lot. But it is what it is. Let's move on. Let's finish up. Let's not finish up. We got another group to talk about. We've got potentially the most exciting group of all. Group E. Where do we start with Group fucking E? Well, where do we start? It is a... Where do we start? Japan, Spain, Costa Rica, Germany. Equation, simple. Was it simple? Who knows? Was it simple? Let's find out. The equation was Spain top on 6 points. Spain top on 4 points. Japan second on 3 points. Costa Rica third on 3 points, and Germany last on 1 point. Equation was simple. Japan win, they're in. Japan draw, and they need to hope Germany don't win. Similar thing goes. Germany need to win in the hopes that Spain beat Japan. Spain are all but through unless Germany beat Costa Rica by 7 goals, and they don't win or get a point. And Costa Rica are all but out unless they somehow beat Germany and Spain. If they somehow beat Germany and Spain, if they beat Germany, they're in. Yeah, if they just beat Germany, they were in. They were through, which is fucking insane. So anyway, where do we start? Let's go with each game up until halftime. So let's start with the Japan-Spain game. Just your simple Spain-Japan game. It literally take Japan-Germany, take that game, put it here, replace Spain with Germany, and replace 11 Spaniards with 11 Germans, and that's what you're going to get. That's literally exactly the same game. Exactly the same game, especially the first half. Exactly the same. Morata scores after 11 minutes. Azpilicueta cross into Morata goal. Spain decided to click rewind and go back to 2017 Chelsea. Azpilicueta cross. Morata goal. Morata header even. There you go. And then Spain dominated the first half. Literally, if I'm going to use a Greek term, they ramifications them throughout the whole first half. 83% possession, 5 shots to 2, 0.74 xG. One big chance created, 500 passes, 565 passes. Just they ramifications them, right? If you speak Greek, you know what that means. So we didn't really expect anything less. We didn't expect anything less from the second half. If we look at the Costa Rica Germany game, Germany took the lead through Serge Gnabry, and once again it was a very, very similar story. Germany 70% possession, 1.36 xG, 12 shots to 1, three big chances created, 390 passes. Both sides were well and truly on their way to both winning, both going through, breaking the hearts of literally every single neutral supporter in the world, and just being boring and being very boring people. However, football plays funny games, and there's a reason why. Football does this to people. And there's a reason why football makes people feel the way that I felt yesterday, the way that all of Australia felt yesterday, and the way that so many people feel, because it can give you something and then just snatch it right back from you within an instant. It doesn't like to play your games. It's unfair. It's cruel, but it's an anti-hero. Football is an anti-hero. That is actually, I fucking nailed it. I'm so good. Football is an anti-hero. Football is an anti-hero. Everyone loves it. Everyone loves it. But it doesn't... It never punishes the villains. It doesn't always punish the villains. It doesn't always help the protagonist. It can be so cruel. It can be so joyful. It can give you something. It can take it back, and it shows no remorse. Football in itself is an anti-hero. And what these simultaneous 45 minutes showed was football is the biggest anti-hero of every anti-hero ever made. Where do we go? Where do we start? It started at the Khalifa International Stadium in Doha. It started with a Ritsu Duan goal. Cracker, thunderbolt. Unai Simon probably should have saved it, but it was still a relatively good goal nonetheless. And you're thinking, okay, now something's starting to happen here. And then 2 minutes later, Ayu Tanaka keeps on keeping on, finds himself open in the box, and then taps home from a millimetre away, which is in VAR for potential of it being out of play, and then the goal's given. And then within the space of 3 minutes, Japan are turned it around. Japan are going through top of the table, and it's just what the fuck, like what the hell. Now, was the ball out? Was it in? Was it out? Well, we all know something, and that is the Germans are out. Stole that line from, I think I saw that on Twitter somewhere. Now, we all saw the angle. I really should have brought it up, and I might actually bring it up. I might actually bring up a couple of angles here. Wait, just bear with me. Bear with me. I just typed up was it out on Twitter. Let's see if I can find some photos here. Come on. Because I want to illustrate this properly. Surely it's on Twitter somewhere. But we all know what I'm referencing, and that is, of course, that moment for the second goal. That ball played to the back post, where I can't remember who got on the end of it. It was Karuna Mitsama got on the end of it, and did he keep it alive? Did he not keep it alive? Well, if I can find it, here we go. I've got two photos here. Okay. We're live. You're gonna have to bear with me. You're gonna have to bear with me ever so briefly, as I airdrop these from my phone onto my laptop. This is so BTEC, it's unbelievable. If I quickly just do this, bear with me, everyone. Here we go. Okay. So you're gonna see some average positions here, from the Spain game. If you just bear with me, here we go. Get rid of that. Extend this. Hold on. Oh, this is live editing going to work, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching on YouTube, apologies, because this is fucking dreadful. You know what? This will do. This will have to do. If we just put myself there. That's not what I want. Let's put myself here. Shrink myself a little bit. Put myself here. How BTEC is this? Put myself here even. There we go. Well, we got it now. We finally got there. Okay, we'll put myself in the bottom corner. Okay. This is the angle, right? Actually, this is the only angle I'm going to show, right? This is the angle. Now, actually, I could probably actually bring up the other one here because, briefly. Once again, bear with me. This is going to be very confusing. If you're not watching on YouTube, it's going to be very confusing, and I don't blame you. But if you are watching on YouTube, you're going to see me panic and try and live edit as I record. This is great podcast content, by the way. Great podcast content. This should not get me copyrighted, right? Surely not. Let's just put myself here. Great, lovely stuff, beautiful. Now, you know what? Let's just extend me out a little bit. There we go. This is good enough. Okay. So now I can actually rotate. Okay. This is the angle that we saw. Now, right here, this to me, it looked out. To me, it looked out. Now, you can tell by this angle that, at least from this angle itself, it appears that every part of the ball is over the line. I don't think you can dispute, at least you can dispute that from this angle itself. However, we don't play with a cube. We don't play with a cube-shaped object. We play with a round, circular object. And the way that circular objects work is, do I have like a ball anywhere in this room? No, I don't, unfortunately. But the way balls work is that they have a tip and a top, right? A tip and a top. Here we go. This is some geometry. Tip and a top, right? And it like goes like that, right? We all know how a sphere works, right? So the fact that the bottom is one place doesn't mean that this plate, that like the circular bit is. If that makes any sense. So I looked at this angle and I thought, that's out. However, I knew that the shadow's on the line, right? So for me, the shadow's on the line, which meant to me that it is 100% conclusive. Like from this angle, it is conclusive that it was not out, if that makes sense. Like, you can't come to a conclusive decision based on this because of the shadow, in my opinion. You can't come to a conclusive decision of this because of the shadow. And because it was a night game, the shadow comes from the lights, right? So it's not like the sun is at a particular angle. It comes from the lights, which meant the lights are pretty much a bird's eye view of the stadium. So they were coming out from an angle which pretty much had a pretty accurate reflection of where the ball was, right? So my logic was, the shadows are on the line, which meant, to me, this is still inconclusive. The goals given, we don't really have a conclusive photo until this. Now this, if I just quickly... Yeah, okay. This in itself is potentially not even conclusive. But to me, this is in. To me, this is in. And it's in by B's dick, but it's in. And that's football. That's football. If we go back to it here, it's in. It is in. It is in. I reckon by about a millimeter. If that. I don't know what kind of technology they used. I don't know whether or not they used the goal line tech. If that works within or like outside of the perimeters of the goal. If they used goal line tech, if they used the VAR technology, of course all the balls have sensors in them, or whether or not they used the old school offside technology where they kind of got as close to horizontal as possible and used the lines, right? The goal's given nonetheless, Japan take the lead, and all of a sudden the game's flipped on its head. And the game is flipped on its head even more as literally the same time that Japan take the lead, pretty much, what was it? No, as about 5 minutes later after Japan take the lead, Costa Rica equalise. And you're just thinking, this isn't happening. This can't happen. This is not happening. Football is not doing this. And then 12 minutes later, Costa Rica take the lead. And I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. Like, I was watching it in my bed and I was kind of half falling asleep, especially during the first half, because both games were fucking boring. But this woke me up. I could have gone for a fucking marathon. Neuer puts the ball in his own net. It was a goal-mouth scramble. They've attributed the goal as an own goal, but it could have been anyone, right? And all of a sudden, Costa Rica is going through with Japan. And granted, it only lasted 3 minutes. But fuck, what a 3 minutes. What a 3 minutes, man. What a 3 minutes. Because it goes beyond anything you could ever think of. Like, no one thought that would happen. No one thought that would happen. No one. I mean, I put my neck out on the line. I literally have a podcast titled Japan Shock the World and guarantee qualification or something like that. I put my neck out on the line. That was before the Costa Rica game. And after they lost to Costa Rica, I was shitting myself because I was like, I don't want to make myself look like a fool, right? But this is football. You can't beat it. There's nothing in the world that beats it. Nothing. I don't want to hear it because you're wrong. Nothing in the world beats it. Maybe I'm thinking about it. Maybe this is recency bias and maybe this is tournament bias. But when Costa Rica lead, and you look at the live table, and it says Japan, Costa Rica, Spain, Germany. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, this doesn't make sense. This is not real. Like, this is fucking FIFA. This is Football Manager. This isn't real. I refuse. I refuse to believe that this is real. I can't. This isn't real. Not happening. I'm not accepting this. It's Costa Rica going through, by the way, with a minus 5 goal difference. With a minus 5 goal difference going through. And yeah, with a minus 5 goal difference. And the thing is, in those 3 minutes, if Spain had scored and equalised against Japan, Costa Rica would have gone through top of the group with minus 5 goal difference. That is like for people who are watching, potentially who I don't know why you would be watching if you don't understand the magnitude of that, but that would be like if you're looking at like AFL, right? I don't know if you're watching this and don't understand the magnitude of that or how ridiculous that is. I don't know why you're watching, but please watch, subscribe, like, come back tomorrow, come back the days after, please. It's good. But this would be like a team. This would be like a team finishing top of the table, like top of the ladder, with like a 94% percentage, 94%, if that. It's ridiculous. Like for those who watch AFL this season, this would be like if Collingwood won the grand final this year with their percentage, but dock 20 percentage points off it, that would be their percent. Like high 80s, low 90s. That's how ridiculous that is. That it's just absurd. But anyway, Kai Havertz decides to spoil everyone's fun because he doesn't show any emotions. The fucking prick. Love you, Kai, though. Thank you for Porto. Yeah, so he equalises, and then not long after, I think he actually scores. Yeah, he scores the goal to put him in front. And then Fulkrug scores to make it 4-2. Everyone's bored of that game now because Germany decided no one's allowed any fun because the Germans are notoriously very fun people. Get a sense of humour, man. Come on. That was hilarious. Anyway, our eyes were fixated on the Spain-Japan game because any goal for Spain kind of puts the cats amongst the pigeons and knocks Japan out and puts Germany through, which would have been heartbreaking for everyone. And Maya Yoshida, last-ditch tackle was unbelievable, and then Japan saw it out in beautiful fashion. Japan are through, Germany are out. Unbelievable scenes. Japan go through top. What more can you say? Underestimate Asian football at your own peril, mate. Underestimate Asian football at your own peril. Because these countries are die for their sport, and die for their national team. Just how good Japan were makes me so proud to be a part of this confederation, to be honest. And I'm glad Australia did the Asian Confederation proud yesterday, and we did. Japan did Asia proud today as well. So I think the real kind of thing goes to the real talking point goes to Germany. Apart from Japan, that's Germany. What more can you say? Back-to-back exits at the group stage. Back-to-back exits in humiliating fashion. What more can you say? Like literally, what more can you say? Horrendous. It's shocking, terrible, not good enough, terrible. It's quite funny. Though, because it was that. It was that. It was this and that. It was this, that. It was literally this much. Literally a bee's dick away from them going through. But it is what it is. It's football. Once again, it's an anti-hero. How good. Let's finish things up as we tick over the 44-minute mark. Tomorrow, the final simultaneous kickoff before we go to the round of 16, where shit gets real. Cameroon, Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, Uruguay, Ghana, South Korea, Portugal. Once again, predictions. No way of talking about it. South Korea, Portugal. I'm going to go with 1-0 South Korea. No, 2-1 South Korea. Ghana, Uruguay. You don't understand how much I want Luis Suarez to score a 95th minute equaliser to knock Ghana out of the group stage. You don't understand how much I will come on this podcast and cry again. That would be, I will cry of just what the fuckness, but I'll also cry because I feel sorry for Ghana. But if that happens, someone put him into witness protection. Like, he will not be safe in that cut. Like, he could not go to, let alone Ghana, he could not go to Africa ever again, Luis Suarez, if that happens. But I'm going to go South Korea 2-1. I'm going to go Ghana. I'm going to go Ghana 1-0. Ghana go through. Brazil, Switzerland. No, what is it? It's Brazil, Cameroon, Switzerland, Serbia. I think Brazil should win quite comfortably. I'm going to go Brazil 2-0. Serbia, Switzerland, basically the winner goes through. I'm going to go Serbia 2-0. Nah, Serbia 1-0. Switzerland, I could say 2. Serbia 1-0. So there you go. Oh, Ghana, Uruguay. That's going to be great. Can't wait to watch that. Okay, thank you all very much for watching our episode. I appreciate you all joining me once again. If you joined me from yesterday's episode, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for subscribing if you haven't. If not, what are you waiting for? So yeah, thank you all very much. Join me again tomorrow where we wrap up the group stage. This has been probably the best day of football ever. Yeah, maybe of course yesterday was unbeaten, but if we're talking neutral perspective, yeah, anyway. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Leave your thoughts and predictions in the comment section below. As always, come on Ghana. They can't do it again, can they? That would be insane.